Welcome to the Sandy and Toddcast, a podcast about all things strange, unusual, and a little bit odd. Why? Because that's how we roll. What are we talking about this time? Check it out. Episode 10 of the Toddcast. Hello, Todd.
It's not the Toddcast, it's the Sandy and Toddcast.
Yeah, the Sandy and Toddcast. You're just the big star.
How am I a big star?
I don't know.
Because my name is part of podcast. Is that why? There's a lot of Toddcasts out there for podcasts.
There were. And when we were coming up with the name for this podcast, I did do a little check. But then I thought, well, there is no Sandy and Toddcast. We are unique. So I thought that is a great name. And I love it.
Yes.
I do. I love it.
It's fine. I think it means basically you get what you get, which is us, which could be any topic in the world, which could be, you being weird. It could be me being weird. It just doesn't matter. So
speaking of that, I had a dream the other night about promoting an episode of the Sandy and Toddcast. And it was really funny because where you put in the summary what the episode's about, it just said lots of weird stuff. And so I dream about our podcast, but yeah, so it just said lots of
dreams
weird
are weird
stuff.
Like I was expecting you to say like we got together, we had dinner, we went ghost hunting in your dream, something like that. And no, you're talking about like uploading a podcast.
That's coming soon because in September Dave and I are coming out to visit. I'm so excited.
Hold your horses, we'll see how it all pans out.
Yes, it's happening. I'm so excited.
Well, here's the thing, if I can't get time off, I'm not going to be able to spend any with you.
I know. So you better confirm that as soon as possible.
Listen to you telling me what to do.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yay. Yes,
I don't know if I am yet. We'll see.
You are. You're excited. Shush, shush.
Here's the truth. The honest truth is I am excited. And then there's a part of me going, kind of like that.
Why?
Because people and all that stuff, I just...
But it's me. It's me.
But it doesn't matter. You're still people.
Oh, stop.
You're still people.
As much as it's not, the norm for me at this point in my life, I am so excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you're taking me to a cheese factory.
I never said that I was. You demand that I do, but you and Dave can go to cheese factories on your own. I don't need to be there.
No, I think you should take us to that cheese factory that I found.
Which cheese factory?
I don't know. I sent it to you. There's one I sent to you.
You've sent like 50 cheese factories to me, and I don't. None of them make a lot of sense.
Which is really funny because we have a lot of cheese here. We're in central New York State. We have a lot of farms. It's mostly farmland here, so there's cheese everywhere. But I just want Wisconsin cheese.
Of course you do, because it's the best. That's why.
We'll have to see. We will have to see.
I'm going to be upfront about this. I am tuckered out this week.
Yeah,
I could take a little nap during the podcast.
Don't take a nap. Wait until it's done, and then you can take a nap all you want. You look tired this week.
I started a new gig this week. So part of all the other stuff that I do, I picked up a new job being on the air in the UK, which is great. And I'm really thankful for it. And I'm having a blast. But we were just talking about this off the air. You only have so many hours of vocal ability before your voice is shot. And mine, like today, I'm teetering on the edge of it being shot. And I still have I've got another show to do yet today. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, ugh. And here's the other thing. And again, no complaints because I love what I do. I'm not digging ditches or anything like that. Right. It's not taxing that way. But to be that energetic and that happy about life and the music you're playing and things going on in all these communities, as you know from doing a show, it wears on you. If it's Wednesday, it feels like it should be Friday.
It does wear on you. It wears on your voice and it wears on you mentally. And I'm not complaining at all because I love what I do. But you have to remember, not you specifically, but in general, you have to remember that you have to put on a show. You're essentially an actor in a lot of ways. And it's very difficult sometimes. When I was doing mornings, I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning and I had to be perky and happy and upbeat and on the air and funny and fun by 6 a.m.
Right.
That's not always easy.
What you really want to do is say, listen, fuckers, I haven't had enough coffee right now, and I didn't get enough sleep last night because my dog kept me up all fucking night.
That's right.
So don't give me any shit.
That's
Here's your
right.
goddamn song.
And boy, does it wear out your voice. By Thursday, Friday, I was really done for. I was pushing my voice way too much. And we were just saying, when I go out or I do something with someone, if I'm I avoid crowds to begin with, but
Right.
I don't like to talk much. I'm kind of quiet and low key because it wears on your voice. And
What
you
are
can
you
lose
quiet
it
and
easy. You
low
have to be
key?
careful.
Okay, so that segues so perfectly in what I am going to
love
share
this. I'm so
for the rest
excited.
of my life.
I probably shouldn't be excited to share this, but it's so freaking funny.
So, last week on the podcast, we talked a little bit about the documentary that follows the story of The Exorcist, or what the movie and the book The Exorcist was based on.
Right.
And so I had not seen it. You'd mentioned it to me, and I knew we were going to talk about it this week. So I thought, well, I better watch this thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm watching it, and I knew you had gone out with the girls.
Yeah.
Face maskless and all that kind of stuff.
Be quiet. We
throwing
went
your COVID
out
germs
with
all over the
face
place.
masks.
At any rate, I'm watching this thing, and we're going to talk about it on the podcast today. But you say, so what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm watching, the show, whatever it's called.
Because I had to check in on you because I love you.
I know. And she goes, well, oh, and you go, well, what do you think? Is it any good? And I said, kind of sucks. And I wish we could actually post like our actual conversations with one another on Messenger.
We
because
should. We can screenshot them. We should because we have some of the
I
weirdest.
don't think we should.
We have some of the weirdest conversations ever.
And sometimes, and I don't want to get off track already, but sometimes like it's all these voice messages. Like I'll be, doing my radio work and I look at the phone and you would message me and I'll look and there'll be like 10 voice messages. And I'm like, oh God. So then I got to listen to them. And it's like 15 minutes of voice messages for me to listen to. But at any rate.
Because it's easier than typing sometimes.
I agree.
If I get excited and I have to, and you've done it to me too. It's
I know.
It's so much easier that way sometimes.
I'm not complaining about it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So at any rate, I just teasingly, I said, it sucks, and you're like, and so this is the response I get. I get an actual voice response from Sandy. Now, remember, she's out with the girls and she's had a couple of drinkies.
Waiting for food. We didn't have our food for quite a while.
And so this is what I get. This is how I'm treated. People think that I'm mean to you on the podcast. This is what I get all the time. So check this out.
Listen, it's a good show. You don't know what a good show is. So screw you, Todd.
So I have the audio saved, and it's actually in my system named Screw You, Todd.
He's been playing it for me all week long, and I get tears in my eyes from laughing so hard because that's our relationship. That sums us up, basically.
You don't know what a good show is.
Listen, it's a good show. You don't know what a good show is. So screw you, Todd.
I don't know what a good show is. Apparently, I have no clue.
And it's such our relationship is he's cranky and I'm like, screw you, Todd.
I'm really not cranky.
You're not.
I'm like
I'm
sunshine and butterflies.
Yeah, well, not that. I wouldn't go that far. Believe me, I wouldn't go that far. I've just learned how to handle you over all this time. I can handle you now. So screw you, Todd.
Exactly. And in the last podcast, we talked a little bit about the fact that you talk a lot. And
I do.
So it was
I admit it.
hilarious because a couple of times I said during the podcast and time because, you went on for like, I think at one point there was like a 10-minute diatribe or something like that.
I don't think it was 10 minutes.
But there was another spot where it happened and I was listening to the podcast after it was put up. I thought, holy shit. I got to get like an air horn or something to blow.
Shush.
I do. I need to let you know that.
Talk. I'm a talker. I like to talk. It's when I was on the air. Listen, I had to do a 4-hour morning show every morning by myself. I talk.
Listen, Todd, you don't know a good show. I'm going to do this.
Todd.
If it ever gets bad, I'm just going to go right in the middle of your conversation and you'll know. Or I'll give you just a little bell. I'll just go like. And that means that your time is up. Okay?
I like the bell better than the buzzer.
Okay,
It sounds a little
that's
more
what I'll do. I'll
upbeat
just
and
ding a
happy.
little bell for you.
Whatever. I love you. Lots of fun stuff on the show today. We've got
Screw
weird
you,
news.
Dad. Screw you.
Screw you, Todd. It just sums us up beautifully. And we have gift wars in our messenger. We should start posting some of these fun ones because they are so weird.
Gift wars. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We had one last night too.
I think we have some of the best conversations just with gifts.
We do. We do. I don't think I've ever had two people that get each other to the point where we could have an entire conversation with gifts.
So sometimes, listen again, I am working and then I'll look and there's 15 voice messages and each one's 1 minute long. So I have to take 15 minutes and listen to our conversation.
It's not true. I never sent you 15 of them.
I'm going in right now. While you kind of preface what we've got coming up on the show,
right,
I'm going to find the longest one.
Coming up on this week's episode, we've got some weird news. We're going to talk a little bit about the documentary on Discovery Plus about the exorcism that inspired The Exorcist, the one that Todd hates that I told him, screw you, Todd. And I did an investigation last weekend. So we're going to talk about that a little bit.
So what I'm giggling about two things. So one of our GIF or meme conversations, 26 of them back and forth. Okay. And then, and I really didn't. This is just from Monday. I've got one that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes long. So 8 right now is the top. Oh, whoop. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, yeah.
Now,
number
one, it was probably something really important because if I'm just saying something, if I just have to tell you something quick, I'll just type it. But if I have a story I have to tell you, it's going to take a while.
So this is one of them right here. I'll just kind of do it really quickly. Hi, Todd. I woke up today. I slipped out of the bed and into some slippers. Then
that almost sounds
to the bathroom.
porn. That almost sounds X-rated.
It did. I'm sorry.
Stop.
Yeah, they're never like that. They're usually like, so I had a weird experience. That's
You're
usually
so
how they
right,
start
too.
off.
You're so right. But aren't you happy that I share with you?
I'm not sure how to take this, but so I was sitting on the couch, kind of thing.
Yeah, listen, it's a good show. You don't know what a good show is. So, screw you, Todd. I don't know why that makes me laugh so much, but it does. It was perfect.
Because the line, you don't know what a good show is. And then the screw you, Todd. And your voice cracking is funny,
too.
too.
And the best part was the girls were just looking at me like, what in the world are you talking about? Because I didn't have a voice message. I was responding via voice to your text. So
I'm just going to run through really quickly our memes. And gifts. So you send, and this is you. Let me love you. Let me love you. Let me love you. And then there's a hug. And I respond, no. Actually, I want to translate that to Spanish. No. Then another one. No. And then you say, don't fight it. We're adorable. Us weirdos have to stick together. We're a team. Then there's another one that says, we're a dream team. And I say, oh, God, I think I lost it now. It just goes back and forth.
It's
just
hilarious. And you know I do it just to get you. Like, I do it just to egg you on. And
so
it's hilarious.
So mine says, not, you know you love me, you say. I said, and these are all memes. These are all things
These are all memes.
and gifts. Not really. And then you say, of course you do. And I say, I said one word, and that was no. I said no. And then there's a machine printing out no's. And then you've got Oprah jumping up and down going, can't wait to see you. So excited for this. There's Kermit the Frog. And I've got one that says, we'll see. And then you've got one that says, best team ever. And then that's about it.
Well, that's because we're so adorable. I can't wait till September. I'm so excited.
And as I said in the meme, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, whatever. I hope we're going to do, I really want to go to St. Nazianz, and I kind of want to do a investigation if you can figure it out.
I'll put something together.
Okay.
I don't know what it'll be, but we'll do something.
Let's do something. We'll do something fun like that.
That'll be one night, and then, so you're going to be here for like, what, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night?
Yes. As far,
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about the flight for Monday because we're flying back out of Chicago. It's about a 2-hour, 45-minute drive from Oshkosh to Chicago. So if we get a late enough flight in the day on Monday, we're going to stay over Sunday night. If we are earlier, we're probably going to go after dinner on Sunday night. So at least we'll have like 2.5 days.
So basically, what I need to hope for is that the flight is pretty early on Monday, so that so I can get through Friday night and Saturday night, and then I'm free.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I really, in all seriousness, we're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy it. I can't believe we're finally. It's been it'll have been almost 2 years.
Pretty close.
Yeah. That's something.
And I'll be honest, I'm happy you guys are coming. I like you guys a lot. I'd be okay with never meeting though, so that's okay too.
Play Screw You, Todd, right now.
I was going to.
Yeah, Screw You, Todd.
And now, weird news. All right, where are we at? Get us going.
All right, it's time for weird news. You sent me this too. I had already written it down because I thought it was kind of cool. There was another UFO sighting by a pilot. Pilots seem to see UFOs quite often. It's not talked about as much as you'd think it would be. I don't know why. I don't know if they try to keep it hush-hush, but this time an American Airlines pilot reported seeing a long cylindrical object coming very close to his airplane as it was flying over New Mexico. And apparently it happened February 21st during a flight from Kentucky to Phoenix, and the FBI just says that they're investigating it. They have since confirmed that the sighting was made, but they're not giving too much information. The FAA says that air traffic controllers didn't see anything on the radar, though, which is kind of interesting. And American Airlines is not talking at the moment. So everybody's kind of hush-hush right now.
And this is why we don't hear a lot of this stuff. Because, first of all, nobody wants to be on a plane with a pilot that thinks they see UFOs. Because, you start wondering if, they should be behind the wheel of the thing.
Sure.
When was it the FBI that said, there was something? Or they're investigating it?
The FBI is just confirming that the report was made. They're saying that they're investigating it.
But then again, how do we know that our radar would even pick this stuff up?
True.
Like the FAA. I mean, let's play devil's advocate a little bit here and just say, well, maybe, it wouldn't pick up. So listen, if a pilot says he sees something, and I think that does happen a lot more often than we hear about, I think we got to kind of look into it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that you do hear stories about objects showing up on the radar. But then again, do they always have to show up on the radar? If in fact there are such things as interplanetary, interdimensional, galaxy, is there a word for that? Galactic?
I think there's intergalactic. I think that's also a song, isn't it?
I think so. That was the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Travel and visitors, then why would they have to show up on our radar? It doesn't necessarily mean that we'd have to have them on radar. So I think I'm open-minded enough to say, you know what? If we can exist, why can't somebody else exist? And I would say that a pilot is probably pretty trustworthy. You hear your random craziness that goes on, but I would say they're pretty trustworthy. So I'm thinking there may be something to this.
Right. All right, do you have any idea what they're saying at that point in the song?
Another dimension?
Oh, maybe.
You weren't sure?
I wasn't sure.
I love them.
Of course you do.
I love them. All right. And the other story, now, everybody has something they're afraid of. Mine are spiders. I do not like spiders at all. Not a fan. The only one I can handle without screaming or going eek is a daddy long legs. I don't know why they don't bother me. They never have. But any other spider drives me nuts.
Have you seen those videos, though, where they're all clumped together on a wall and then somebody touches them and they crawl away? That's gross.
It's creepy and it's gross. And I have nothing personally against them, but they creep me out. So this story sort of made my skin crawl. And pun intended. And here we go. University of Michigan Library was closed for 2 days for cleaning when they found 3 venomous spiders in their basement.
Yeah.
I know. They've been identified. They're Mediterranean recluse spiders. They're a species that commonly hitchhikes with travelers. So they're not indigenous to the United States. They had to have been brought in. They've been found in 22 states so far, which I wouldn't have known that, but never in Michigan before. This is the first time. They are venomous, but probably wouldn't bite anybody in such a large open space. So hanging out in the basement, they weren't going to run across the basement floor and attack you like a rabid animal. But it's creepy and horrible nonetheless. They don't have a huge amount of venom, but they have enough to start necrosis, which is the eating away of the flesh. So that doesn't make me very happy. I am not a spider person at all. So that was pretty gross.
I'm not either. I'm not. And I've got a friend who was not a spider person her entire life. She lived with me for a while, and I would get texts occasionally for me to go up to her apartment and kill a spider because she couldn't do it. And now she's got 2 tarantulas in her home. So I can't do it. I don't like spiders. I get some springtime at my house. I get some spiders. And I always call out the bug people and do a little spray action. And then the spiders aren't quite around as much as they can be.
I am the first person to call Dave into a room and say, please kill this for me. I will say this. Don't laugh at me, but I will say this. If we don't have to kill them, if he can just get it and put it outside, I'm fine with that. They don't have to die. But if there's no choice, then I'm just like, kill it. Just get rid of it. I can't
Then they have to die. If there's no other choice,
they have to die.
Yep.
And it's sort of like the stink bugs to me. I can't deal with the stink bugs either. But the spiders, no. Just a no. I can take bugs. We have a camp. So in the summertime, it's not that buggy up there, even though we're in the middle of the woods. It's not that buggy, but I can handle bugs. I just don't like spiders.
Yeah.
So that's your weird news for this week.
That was weird news. I have to give you a little credit because I thought for sure I'd have to give you a little bell action in there, and we didn't have to. I thought there was going to be a spider story from 20 years ago.
Nope, no spider stories.
Dang.
Nope. Aren't you proud of me?
I don't know. I kind of miss the talkative Sandy.
Oh, now you do.
So I can make fun of her.
Of course. Moving right along. So last week we ended our episode with the remainder of the movies that scared the BeJesus out of us. You were BeJesus for a little while, which I thought was very humorous. And
that's right. I remember that character.
Yes.
We got to bring him back.
I love BeJesus. And I set your little BeJesus rant to some hillbilly music, which was funny. And we started talking about The Exorcist at the end. And there's actually a real case that movie was based on. And we thought, well, let's just kind of briefly talk about the real case that inspired the movie The Exorcist, because that movie is a movie that is never going to age. It's always going to scare the BeJesus out of everyone. It's creepy. I was watching some more of it over the weekend. And it's creepy. It's scary. It's something you don't want to deal with. You don't want to think about. You don't want to deal with, but at the same time, you can't stop watching it.
Right.
So the movie was based on a real exorcism or series of exorcisms that took place back in the 1940s. There is the documentary that inspired my Screw You Todd rant is called The Exorcism of Roland Doe, and it's on Discovery Plus. We both have Discovery Plus, so we'll watch shows around the same time and everything. And there are a lot of people that fully believe that this exorcism really happened the way it's been told, and there are a lot of people who are finding different holes in the story, which is kind of weird. The more I dug into it, the more I kind of realized that there are many people who don't think that this really happened the way the story's been told.
Including the documentary, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I did a little bit of digging on Google. about the actual exorcism. Now, the exorcism itself was a Roman Catholic exorcism. And when I say exorcism, I mean a series of exorcisms. This went on for over a month.
Right.
And it was a 14-year-old boy from Maryland. His family at one point moved to South Africa for a time, and they spent a lot of time with this boy's Aunt Harriet. She was a spiritualist, and she believed that life went on after death, and she would use the Ouija board with this young boy all the time. So when she died, all of a sudden activity started to really kick up. There is one thing that was said, and we don't know for sure that was true, that after she died, he tried to use the Ouija board to contact her.
Right.
And so after she died, all of a sudden activity started to kick up around the boy. It only happened when the boy was in the room, when he was awake. During the day, it was okay, but at night, it would get really, really crazy. So the family turned to their local priest, and the priest himself said, maybe he's just a brat. Let me take him for the night and see what happens, because if he's going to pull something over on his family, he can't pull it over on me. So the priest took him in for the night, and lo and behold, all kinds of things went on in the priest's house. Objects would move. The chair that the boy was sleeping in would turn around in circles. All kinds of crazy stuff would happen. So eventually the family went to St. Louis, Missouri, because they had family members there. And they hooked them up with some priests there. And these exorcisms took place at the Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis. It's no longer there. It was raised in, I think, 1979, which would be something unbelievable to be able to investigate.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. It's said that during these exorcisms, he showed superhuman strength. Words like evil and hell would appear on his body. Objects would fly around. He would speak in a guttural voice. All kinds of stuff like that. And then eventually, after about a month, the story is that St. Michael the Archangel, who is the defender of evil, I actually say a prayer before every investigation to St. Michael, asking him to protect us. And I thank him at the end of each investigation. He apparently took on the demon that was inside of this boy and defeated the demon, and the demon left. Now, there's a few little rumors that have gone on after the fact. There were 3 priests involved in these exorcisms. One of them was Father Halloran. There was one, and I can't remember which priest it was, Todd, but it's believed that it's possible that the demon jumped into this priest because he spent the rest of his life in the mental ward of this hospital in a room. And that's, rumors can fly, so we don't know for sure. This isn't documented that he, stayed there his whole life and everything, but that's what's said about it. What's interesting, though, is that the boy, after this all happened, sat up in his bed and said he's gone and went on to live a completely normal life. Completely normal life. Actually beyond normal,
because this guy, if I remember the story correctly, actually did some wonderful things for NASA, right?
Yeah. And he has no memory of anything that happened. None whatsoever. He would be, I'm sure he's passed away by now, but he would be very, very old at this point in time, but had an amazing life and never had another problem, which, is just so interesting to me that I guess if he was such a spoiled brat who was trying to cause trouble and make all of this trouble, wouldn't he sort of be that kind of person the rest of his life? I can't imagine that he would miraculously be absolutely normal after something like that.
Well, and if he was faking it, and I'm not saying that he was, but if he was faking it, what made that point the decision to stop faking it? Because as you said, this went on for a month, and you mentioned one of the locations that that the exorcisms went on at. But to be honest, the exorcism started at the relative's home in St. Louis. Then they took him to the location you mentioned. Then they took him to a different location at a church.
Yes.
Where I don't know if they call it a rectory or something like that.
Yeah.
Took him back to that location, took him to another location, took him back to Maryland, and then back to the location again. They had this kid all over the place trying to figure out the best way to handle this situation.
And there are actually a few documentaries on this, and I watched one over the weekend. I'm going to share everything in just a few minutes, and I'll put it up in our show notes for this episode because there's one that I really, really recommend. They actually spoke to one of the priests in the documentary. He actually talked about it. The problem, though, and here's where the detractors come in. The problem is that a lot of the commonly accepted information about this story is based on hearsay. It's not documented. It was never fact-checked. There is a diary from one of the priests that is said to be in circulation. Somebody has it. But that's pretty much all they have as far as documentation. It was just based on stories that were sort of passed along in the Catholic Church. These were Jesuit priests, and so it was moved along over the years. The general consensus of today's experts is that the boy was just deeply disturbed and that nothing supernatural happened around him. I don't believe that. I do believe that something happened. There's an author named Mark, I'm going to screw this name up, apologize in advance, Obsasnik, who summed it up. He said, to psychiatrists, the boy suffered from mental illness. To priests, this was a case of demonic possession. To writers and film video producers, this was a great story to exploit for profit. Those involved saw what they were trained to see. Each purported to look at the facts, but just the opposite was true. In actuality, they manipulated the facts and emphasized information that fit their own agendas, which I thought was a very, very interesting way for him to try and sum up what happened.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of sees, I do see some truth in that. Everybody sort of sees what they want to see, what fits their own needs, fits their own agenda in it.
But that's any paranormal investigation. Period.
That's true.
That's any situation where we don't have the specific answers to it, because there may not be, and especially back in the 40s, specific answers to what was going on with this individual.
Right.
We may have learned more about his conditions today and could put a label on it, but we couldn't back then. So I think that happens with any situation. I think, though, that the interview with the one priest that was surviving, there was an interview done with not one of the priests that were part of the actual exorcism, but someone that was at that location living as a monk who was dying of cancer. And they show this in the documentary itself. He was dying of cancer and finally decided to tell his story of what he went through while that boy was there. And he, on his deathbed, practically said that, yeah, he was possessed and he saw this. And I believe he even said part of his statement was that he saw either the bed raise or the body raise off the bed, one or the other. But it's interesting. I think you look at it, and this, by the way, was done by the same group that did the documentary on Amityville Horror, the Amityville House. It was the same television show, same series, whatever. And you look at the Amityville story. Is everything that we know about it 100% truth?
That's right.
Probably not, right? We don't know. We're still talking about it years later. Here's another situation. We don't have all the details, and this thing happened in the 40s. There was a movie in the 70s, and here we are in 2021, and we're still talking about it because we don't have the answer.
And to your point, now, if this had happened today, it would be a whole different story, so to speak. It would be so well documented. Everyone would know for sure exactly what happened before, during, and after. This was 1949. It's not going to be well documented. I personally, my personal opinion is this truly happened. When I watched this documentary that I watched over the weekend, it's called In the Grip of Evil. It's very difficult to find. I did find it on YouTube. It's in 3 parts. Somebody actually taped it off their TV, so it's not the best quality, but I believe it's from 1997. It's really, really well done. And they spoke to one of the priests, and he's so sincere in the way he speaks about it. He was actually the priest, I think it was Halloran, if I'm not mistaken. This was Halloran that they spoke to. And he had taken the boy out to get him fresh air. And the boy took off and ran from him. And he had to chase the boy at one point to a cliff. And obviously, when someone's possessed, the end result is to kill the person.
Correct.
So the priest, Father Halloran, actually thought that this boy was going to jump off of the cliff. And he tackled him just before he got to the cliff, got him down on the ground, and essentially saved his life. So he took him back. The boy was fighting, but they took him back to, he took him back to the hospital. And so then the exorcisms continued. During the day, he seemed to be okay. It was at night that he would get crazy. But to hear this priest actually, and watch him, because I'm very visual, and to watch him explain what happened and the sincerity in him, I don't doubt for a second personally that this happened. I really believe this happened.
My details may be a little off because I'm going by memory, but in watching the documentary that we watched together at different times, if it is that priest that they talked to, I believe he was also the same priest who kept the diary of the exorcism.
That was Father Bowdern.
Okay.
Bowdern.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's Bowdern or Bowdern. That was, and he actually, there is a diary. It was uncovered. I don't know who has it right now, but it's from what I understand, it's very, very interesting. To read.
So before the location that was the main location for the exorcism was raised, a reporter was able to go in and kind of see the location where it all happened. And in this documentary, they speak to this reporter, and he says that he was taken there by Catholic people, priests, I don't know, but they were from the Catholic Church to see this location. And it was all done in secrecy. And they showed him the location where it happened, the room, if you will. From the outside of the door, he was going to walk in, and they said, "Oh no, you cannot go in there." And from the outside of the door, he was listening. He heard things moving around and crashing and banging and all this noise from in the room. So I thought that was kind of interesting too, because during the documentary, they talked to this reporter a couple of times, and he seemed rather trustworthy throughout the whole thing. And then all of a sudden he laid this bombshell on us, and it was like, wow, if that's, where, and again, it was 1940 when this happened, and some of the reports came out later. Where were all the recording devices? Where was the cameras? Where, and like you said, if it happened today, there would be video and there'd be digital analysis of it, and there'd be audio, and I mean, all sorts of stuff going on.
One thing that I thought was interesting in the documentary In the Grip of Evil, they did say that the room was never used again. It was sealed off. No one was allowed to ever go in there again. And that there were actually higher ups in the hospital who were basically in their office, didn't even know that there was an exorcism going on. They weren't even aware of what was going on. I don't know how secret they kept everything or where exactly in the hospital he was, but there were people who didn't even know this was going on, which I thought was very interesting.
I'm trying to remember properly if that was the room where the exorcisms took place, or if that was the room that the priest who took on the evil spirit was placed. I can't remember, but
I know,
at any rate,
I'm not sure, but it's fascinating. It just fascinates me.
It's a great documentary. They did a great job on the Amityville one, and they did a great job on this one. And the entire way through it, I'm like, gosh, this is so good.
Yeah.
Like, if I could do anything in life worth a shit, that's what I would want to do with my life. I would love to tell those stories as best I can. I just don't have the talent to do it.
It's fantastic. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about this whole saga from the 1940s exorcism, the inspiration for The Exorcist or The Exorcist itself, there's a lot of places that you can look. There's the 1971 novel, The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. That's the book right before the movie. The Exorcist movie itself was out in 1973. There's a 2000 movie called Possessed that it was inspired by the case. And they say that movie actually follows the 1949 exorcism a little more closely than The Exorcist did because, the boy his head did not spin 360 degrees. He didn't, spit. He didn't vomit green stuff at the priest in the quote real life exorcism. But this one apparently was inspired more by the case. It's a little bit truer to the actual case. Then there's the documentary I just watched called In the Grip of Evil, which I recommend. I thought it was very well done. They sort of took the devil's advocate stance too and talked to some psychologists and things like that. And there's also a documentary called The Haunted Boy, The Secret Diary of the Exorcist. I don't know how much of a documentary it is, how much of a movie. It was done by the Booth Brothers. If anybody's familiar with the Booth Brothers, they've done several that I actually have some of their DVDs. I thought they were well done. They're movie makers. They're not paranormal investigators. They make movies. They did The Death Tunnel at Waverly Hills Sanatorium and all of those, kind of scary, bloody movies. But this apparently is where a group of investigators travels to the location in question and they uncover the diary that was said to be kept by the priest during the exorcisms. So that's kind of maybe a fun one to watch and see what that's all about. I haven't watched that yet. I'm not sure what it's actually about. And then, of course, there's the Exorcism of Roland Doe, the documentary on Discovery Plus that we watched that kind of kicked off this discussion, and that was very good, too. So there's lots of good stuff. I'll put it all in the show notes for everybody so you can maybe pick and choose what you want to watch, or all of them.
You watch a documentary like that, watch a documentary like that, and you start going down the old rabbit hole, and you start looking at other things, and then I started watching some information about the actress that they used to do the voice in the Exorcism movie, and what she had to do to get her voice like that. And it was a lot of alcohol and a lot of cigarettes and drinking raw eggs. Seriously, right? And I mean, so then you start listening to some of the outtakes and stuff. And here's one of the outtakes I found that I thought was really, really interesting, to be honest with you.
Listen, it's a good show. You don't know what a good show is. So, screw you, Todd.
I mean, I thought that was amazing.
I didn't drink that. I had 2 drinks. I had this wonderful triple berry martini, which was absolutely delicious. But we were waiting for our food, and it was taking forever because it was so busy. So we just got a little buzzed. That's all.
You got a little buzzed.
But screw you, Todd. Screw you. That's all I got.
All right.
If you're enjoying this episode of the Sandy and Toddcast, there's more where that came from. Follow Sandy and Todd on Facebook. Just look for the Sandy and Toddcast, or you can subscribe to their YouTube channel and check out the video version each week there. Find these guys on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Soon you'll be able to support the Sandy and Toddcast on Patreon and be able to follow them on Instagram. As always, thanks for joining in the fun, and stay weird.
We're going to talk about your Saturday night.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I don't want to give too much out right now.
Okay, well then we'll put the timer on. How many minutes do you want?
So
you're going to play pyramid here or what?
No, so I don't want to give too many specifics. We're still working on it, but we went to a house on Saturday night. Dave the skeptic was with us, the semi-skeptic, and it was built in the early 1800s. In a predominantly Welsh community back when it was built. The owner of the house has had some activity, and the previous owner of the house has had some activity. And what's interesting is that because I'm just learning how to use my gifts, weird things will happen. And we've talked about this before, where you picture things in your head and then you kind of write them off as your imagination. But I'm trying not to do that anymore. I'm trying to actually listen to myself. And so there was an incident where I've never been in the house before. I had never seen the house. There was an incident where I knew that I was going, and I had a vision of a staircase. And I just knew that there was a lot of activity on the staircase. So I asked the owner of the house to send me a picture of the staircase, and lo and behold, it looked just like the staircase. I mean, 90% similar to the staircase in my head. And I just knew it. And there was a woman that I kept seeing standing on the stairway in period dress, a little older, matronly, matriarchal. And I knew that she was predominantly on that staircase. This was before we even got there. So I spoke to the owner, and I don't like to know a lot about the history of a place until I actually get there and walk through and get my impressions. Then you can tell me anything you want because I can try to connect. And so I told him all about this, and it was a very interesting night. The really cool thing about this house is that as soon as I walked into one area, the bedroom, and this may be kind of hard to understand for somebody who doesn't have this kind of, I guess, ability, but as soon as I walked in, I could tell there were many different layers to this activity. And to me, that means that there are many different energies in one place, and they span time. It's not like there's an energy from 1939 and that's it. I could feel different energies. I felt youthfulness. I felt older. I could feel it all, like in one big jumble. So we sat down and we used some different stuff. We got to use the REM pod, my REM pod for the first time. I bought a REM pod. I've always wanted one. And it went off at very interesting times. And
For people who don't understand what a REM pod is or what it measures, can you kind of dig into that a little bit?
It's actually really cool. If you watch any of the ghost hunter shows, they all use REM pods. It's a round cylindrical piece of equipment that has a small antenna. And what it does is it sends out its own static charge, so that if anything comes within a certain area within that charge, it will go off. You'll hear buzzers, you'll see lights going on and off. It's to basically say, there's somebody here, there's something here. And when we would ask a question, it would go off. And at one point, we were down in the living room, and this was very, very cool. I set the REM pod down, I turned it on, I let it sit for a second. And I said, is anybody in this room with us? And it went off. And by then they had started to understand what we were trying to do. And I said, okay, can you back away from it now for me? And it stopped. So we had intelligent things like that all night long. At one point we were sitting on the stairs and I could feel this woman coming down the stairs. The owner was up above me on the stairs. I was in the middle. Dave was on the bottom. We had some equipment in between us. He could feel the cold on his neck. And as she came down the stairs, I could feel her coming towards me. So, and the equipment was all going crazy. The equipment was going absolutely crazy. We heard footsteps. We heard a voice in the bedroom, which I did catch. We're still trying to figure that out. We think it may be a foreign language. And the best part of the night was, Todd, you and I have actually set this up. We haven't done it before, but if you watch Kindred Spirits, they do an experiment with a spirit box where one of them puts headphones on and listens to the spirit box. The other one asks questions, and they see if they get any intelligent responses. We actually had an intelligent conversation with a spirit that turned out to be the name that I had received before the investigation. And it literally said this girl's name. And we had a very interesting conversation. We presumably found out how old she was, why she died, the whole thing. It was so interesting. And this place is definitely haunted. It definitely has a lot of activity going on. We think we caught a shadow person. We were in the bedroom and the owner says, I just saw something out in the hallway. And we had cameras set up throughout the upstairs. And he messaged me the other day and said, I think I got the shadow person. So we still have to look through that, but really, really great investigation. There's not many that you can go into where you get not only my experiences are confirmed, names that I got are confirmed, but also through the equipment, through the cameras, an audible voice. You've got the equipment going off. You've got a shadow person caught. It's just, that house has so many layers. I don't even know how we would even figure out who it was other than the one name that we were able to confirm and have the conversation with. It's not the same person that's on the stairs. She's different. I think she goes throughout the house, but I think her main time, because back in those days, your home was your world. There wasn't a lot of travel back then, especially in rural central upstate New York, northern New York. There wasn't much travel. Your home was your castle. And so she was literally the matriarch of that house, and she spent her time up and down those stairs and doing things, and I think that's where she predominantly is. And one interesting thing that I want to mention is that the same spirit can leave both residual and an intelligent haunting at the same time. And they hear footsteps. The owner will hear footsteps on the stairs all the time. And I really believe that that's this woman, but yet she interacted with us. And we asked her to come down the stairs. We asked her to stop. She sat next to me. I could feel her next to me on the stairs. She was very intelligent as well. So I think that's a fascinating thought, that we can have both residual and intelligence from the same spirit at the same time. That's the first time I ever experienced something like that.
Cool. And it's cool too, like when you go to an investigation, you were mentioning when you have a lot of activity, that's great. But I think it's even better when you walk away with an aha moment, like you did with the residual and intelligent energy.
Yeah, that was a first for me. And that was really, I think, yes, it's amazing to get confirmation of a name, especially when I'm just starting to get a grip on what's going on with me and learn about it. But to realize that it is extremely possible to have two things going on, two independent things going on for the same spirit at the same time, or the same energy. I like to refer to it as energy. That's fascinating. That's amazing. So it was a really great night. So really nice. And even Dave, the semi-skeptic, he couldn't deny what was going on. I mean, it was obvious what's going on. And so next time we're going to do that experiment, we're going to put him in the headphones with the spirit box and see what he comes up with. And it should be interesting. Yeah. So it was a really good night. Really good night. So yeah, I'm starting to really learn how to develop what I have, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little scary because I'm opening myself up to something that is very unknown to me, that I've never really allowed myself to deal with, but it's a lot of fun too. Especially when I'm coming home in the car and I'm like, yeah, I was right. Everything I thought beforehand, boom, yeah, it was right. So you get that high from being that confirmation that, yeah, I got something here. So it's pretty cool. I know, I'm done.
There you go.
I'm done.
I'm just kidding. But I was going to actually add to that. And I made mention after this, as we were talking about our conversations that we have over messaging and stuff. I told you straight out, I said, I'm just telling you now that if you become possessed doing all the shit that you do, we're no longer friends, and I will use that to write a book or make a movie or something. So we're no longer friends if you become possessed, but I will use that to my advantage.
I will not become possessed. I'm very careful.
You don't know that.
I'm very careful. I'm not going to become possessed.
You don't know that.
I'm not. I would not put myself in that kind of a position with evil. You don't know that. I would not put myself in evil.
You don't know a good show.
Whatever.
You don't know.
Screw you, Todd. Screw you, Todd.
You don't know.
Screw you.
That's the one thing. Like, I actually get a little angry with you because you don't know what you're putting yourself in for every time. You think you do. You get certain feelings, but you don't know what you're really dealing with. And there was something that you did recently. You walked into a black shadow to feel what that was like.
Yeah.
What the fuck were you thinking?
Because I know...
Well, it wasn't bad. I could tell if it's... You don't know.
Listen, I have to...
Listen, you don't know.
No, seriously. Like, I have to trust myself. Otherwise, I'd never leave the house. I have to trust myself. I get that. There's a level of trust, and there's another level of going... maybe I should think about this one thing a little bit more. I would never do something that would totally put me or anyone that I'm with in harm's way. Never. And I protect myself. I protect myself. I carry my crystals with me. I wear my black tourmaline around my neck. I say opening and closing prayers. I protect myself. I would not do something that was dangerous. I just wouldn't.
walking into a black shadow to see what it's like is kind of dangerous.
It didn't feel
And
evil.
And it doesn't. Okay. All right. I don't think the little boy in the 1940s thought anything was evil there too, but look what happened to him.
I wouldn't use a Ouija board, I'll tell you that.
Oh, but you'll walk into a black shadow.
No, I wouldn't use a Ouija board. No.
But you'll walk
Ouija
into a
boards-
black shadow.
Stop.
See, here's what's going to happen. I'll tell you right now. 50 years from now, okay, there's going to be somebody doing some sort of weird podcast because things will be different then. But they're going to be talking about the exorcism of Sandy.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You watch.
No.
I'm
No,
fine.
no.
I know what I'm doing. You
fine.
don't know, Todd. You don't know anything.
Screw you, Todd.
Exactly.
That's our new catchphrase. Screw you, Todd. So.
And that's fine. This has been a good podcast. Wrap it up.
I'm keeping
I'll
that part.
take it.
I'm
No,
keeping
we're not.
that. Yes, we are. Next week, I think we're doing Twisted Towns again. I think I'm going to do a Twisted Towns. Yes, let's do a
Hey,
Twisted
can
Towns.
we
Those
also
are
do
fun.
something called Twisted Tales? So it's not necessarily about a town, but maybe about like a legend or something like that?
Oh, of course. Yes, yes, I would love to. I think it's fun to explore all of that stuff. I think that's really cool. So I think I know what you're talking about, and that would be wonderful.
What about the topic Twisted Titties? Could we do that? Or is that...
Tune in Tokyo. Do you remember that? Do you remember Tune in Tokyo?
Yeah.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up on that note. Big thank you to all of our followers, all of our supporters. We love you very much. And a huge thank you to Dan Phillips for the use of 600 Miles, our
Thanks,
intro and
Dan.
outro song. You can catch up with Dan on Instagram. It's at @D_Phillips Music. And then on Facebook, Daniel Phillips Music. Dan has some great music out there, unusual music, and I love unusual music. Dan does it so well. He's on Spotify. He's all over the place, so check him out. You can find us on our Facebook page, The Sandy and Toddcast. Look for us on Spotify, Amazon, and Audible, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere that you download your podcast. Please leave us a review. We would love to get some reviews and let us know what you like about the show. And you can email us, thesandyandtoddcast@gmail.com. And give us any of your true stories. Todd still wants to act out emails, so if you send us an email, then we can act it out, or at least Todd will. And Patreon is coming soon. We have some surprises coming up within the next, maybe a month. We're going to switch things up a bit and have a little bit more fun with that. So Patreon coming soon. And a big shout out to
Maybe one
all
of the things we
our
can do is like special messages from BeJesus. You give us the message that you want us to send. We'll call the person.
Act it out. Oh my God. Could somebody please do that? Please send Todd an email, thesandyandtoddcast@gmail.com as BeJesus, and Todd will act it out for us next week.
That or I'll even make like phone calls. So if like somebody wants me to leave Sandy a message, I'll call Sandy up as BeJesus and leave her a message on her phone. So whatever your message is,
Todd's willing to do anything.
You're breaking up with somebody, I can call as BeJesus and make sure they realize that, it's over.
That would be fantastic. Please, somebody email us or message us on our Facebook page, The Sandy and Toddcast, and have BeJesus relay the message. He'd be more than happy to do that.
I can do it. I just got to remember what BeJesus sounds like.
I'll play it for you. I'll even set it to the hillbilly music again for you. It'll really hit the spot. So
Perfect.
All right, thanks guys. We'll be back with you next week with a brand new Twisted Towns. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
How many more miles left in this race? How long it takes, I don't know. In the end, it ain't about the pace. It always ends at the crossroads.